the voice that shook the tower. In the heart of Charlotte, North Carolina, where skyscrapers gleamed under the southern sun, the boardroom of Horizon Innovations buzzed with the weight of a monumental deal. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that comes when a $200 million merger hangs in the balance. At the head of the polished mahogany table stood James Whitaker, the CEO, his silver hair catching the light as he prepared to sign the contract that would redefine his company's future. Around him, executives in tailored suits murmured, their eyes fixed on the documents before them. But no one noticed the small figure standing near the coffee cart, her sneakers silent against the marble floor. That is, until she spoke. "Mr. Whitaker," came a soft voice, barely above a whisper, yet it sliced through the room like a blade. "That's not the contract you showed last week." Every head turned, not to a lawyer or a vice president, but to a 9-year-old black girl, her braided hair tied back with a red ribbon, clutching a cracked iPhone in a sparkly pink case. Her name was Lila Thompson, daughter of Evelyn Thompson, James's longtime housekeeper. She stood there, unassuming in a faded green dress, her eyes steady despite the weight of the room's gaze. James froze, his pen hovering over the signature line. "Lila," he said, his voice calm but tight. "What do you mean?" Lila stepped forward, her sneakers squeaking faintly. "The contract," she said, pointing to the stack of papers. "It's missing the shared oversight clause, and Section 5.2 is different. I saw it in the print room." A murmur rippled through the room. Some executives exchanged glances, others stifled smirks. Catherine Hayes, the COO of Summit Media and James's fiancée, let out a soft laugh, her manicured hand resting on his arm. "Darling, she's just a child. Probably saw a draft. Let's not get distracted." But James didn't smile. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Lila. "Where did you see this, Lila?" Lila didn't flinch. "In the print room. I saw her." She nodded toward Catherine, switching the final copies before the meeting. "I recorded it." The room gasped. Catherine's smile faltered, her fingers tightening on James's sleeve. "That's absurd," she snapped. Lila tapped her phone, undeterred. "I thought it looked weird, so I hit record. I was just going to show my mom how the printer worked." She held up the phone, and the boardroom's massive screen flickered to life as she mirrored the video. There was Catherine, alone in the print room, the timestamp from an hour earlier. She glanced over her shoulder, pulled a folder labeled "Final Copy" from the tray, and fed it into the shredder. From her bag, she produced another folder, nearly identical, and placed it in the tray. Then she smiled a cold, satisfied smile and walked out. The room fell silent. James stood slowly, his eyes fixed on the screen. "Catherine," he said, his voice sharp enough to cut glass. "What did I almost sign?" Catherine's mouth opened, then closed. "It's just formatting," she stammered. "Standard adjustments." "Formatting," James repeated, his tone icy. Around the table, executives sat up straighter. The head counsel, Robert Klein, slipped on his glasses and began flipping through his copy of the contract. Evelyn rushed into the room, her face pale. "Lila, I told you not to, Mr. Whitaker, I'm so sorry." James raised a hand. "Don't apologize, Evelyn." He knelt to meet Lila's eyes. "Lila, thank you." Lila blinked, trembling now, realizing the enormity of what she'd done. She'd spoken against the most powerful person in the room besides James. Yet in that moment, something shifted, a quiet healing between a man of power and a child who dared to speak truth. The boardroom emptied slowly, the air heavy with disbelief. James stood at the table's edge, hands resting on its surface, while Lila and Evelyn lingered near the wall. "I didn't mean to mess things up," Lila whispered, her voice cracking. James knelt again. "You didn't mess anything up. You saved something I've spent 30 years building." Catherine had been escorted out by HR, her heels clicking furiously down the hall. James had seen the flash of panic in her eyes, the kind that comes when a carefully laid plan unravels. He turned to Robert. "Give me both contracts, hers and mine. And call Henry Dawson." In James's private office, the Charlotte skyline shimmered through the windows. James, Lila, and Robert sat around a sleek oak table. Robert slid 2 folders across. "The original from last week," he said, tapping one, "and the copy Catherine placed this morning." James opened both, his jaw tightening as he reached Section 5.2. The original required dual CEO approval for major decisions. The new version handed control to Summit Media's So Catherine. A complete power grab. She swapped it, Lila said softly. I saw her shred the real one. James looked at her. You recorded it. That took guts. I just thought it felt wrong, Lila said. She looked scared when she saw me, like I wasn't supposed to be there. James dialed Henry Dawson, his oldest advisor. Henry, I need you. Now. Henry arrived, his weathered briefcase in hand, and reviewed the evidence in silence. After 15 minutes, he sat back. She played you, he said. Used trust to blind you. Classic. James exhaled. I loved her. That's the cost of being human, Henry said. Now you choose, bury this or expose it. James turned to Lila. If I'd signed that paper, what would you have done? Lila hesitated. I'd have shown the video to someone. Maybe the news. Or Mr. Dawson. You'd have gone public? James asked. She nodded. Mom says silence is the same as lying. James smiled, a sad but grateful smile. We take this to the board, and I want a full audit of every contract Catherine touched. He looked at Lila. Will you come to the board meeting? Lila glanced at Evelyn. Only if Mom comes. Deal? James said, shaking her hand. The boardroom on the 20th floor was a different beast. 12 members sat around the table, investors, department heads, all powerful, all confused. James stepped out, wearing a simple jacket, no tie. You made it, he said warmly to Lila and Evelyn. Inside, he introduced Lila. She's 9 years old, not on payroll, and she's the reason we're here instead of signing away our company. A board member, Margaret Ellis, frowned. Is this a joke, James? No, he said. This is a reckoning. Lila played the video again. The room grew cold as the board compared the contracts. Section 5.2 was undeniable. She altered control terms, someone muttered. Margaret leaned forward. And you? Lila, how did you notice this? I like reading contracts, Lila said. They're like puzzles. You just see what's missing. James spoke. She warned me, and I didn't listen at first. But she didn't stop. She told the truth, even when it could have cost her mother's job. Henry cleared his throat. In 40 years, I've seen mergers fail because grown men missed what she caught in one clause. The board voted unanimously to investigate Catherine and audit all contracts. James proposed a new role, Chief Ethics Observer, for Lila. Not to sign deals, but to read them with clear eyes, he said. Margaret chuckled. I've seen worse ethics officers. Lila nodded. Okay, but I still get to say what I think. Always, James said. That evening, in the parking garage, Evelyn buckled Lila into their old sedan. A voice cut through the shadows. You ruined everything, you little brat. Evelyn spun around. Catherine stood there, her coat wrinkled, her eyes wild. You think this changes anything? I was weeks from the board. You tried to steal a company, Evelyn said coldly. Lila spoke from the car. Truth matters, even if I'm 9. Catherine flinched, then turned and walked away, her heels echoing like a fading empire. The investigation deepened. Security footage revealed Catherine wasn't alone. Edward Langston, Horizon COO, had instructed her, and behind him loomed Charles Preston, the retired board chairman, pulling strings through offshore accounts. The merger, if signed, would have funneled billions to Preston's shell company, leaving James to take the fall. And in turn, Sarah Nguyen provided a charred page of the original contract with Edward's notes. Access logs showed Michael Reed, head of legal, had signed off on the fake version. In a tense meeting, James confronted Michael, who stammered. It was a technicality. You let a 9-year-old catch what you missed, someone scoffed. Michael was suspended, escorted out by security. James went public, announcing the fraud in a press conference. We were saved by one voice, he said. A child who said, that's not right. He launched the Lila Thompson Trust, a scholarship for girls in ethics and law, and named Evelyn COO to lead an integrity task force. 2 weeks later, at a packed auditorium in UNC Charlotte, Lila stepped onto the stage, her voice trembling but clear. I just remembered what Mom says. When something's wrong, say something. So I did. The crowd stood, applause thundering. That night, the DOJ charged Catherine, Edward, and Preston with fraud. Preston's accounts were traced to military logistics, hinting at treason. Justice was closing in. In James's office, he sat with Lila by a fireplace. Why did Catherine do it, she asked. Fear of losing what she thought she deserved, James said. But you reminded me what leadership means, listening to the truth, no matter who speaks it. Evelyn joined them, handing Lila cocoa. You did what most adults can't, she said. You told the truth when it cost something. Horizon Innovations rebuilt, transparent and strong. Lila's role as chief ethics observer became a beacon for corporate reform. Catherine and Edward faced prison. Preston's trial loomed. Lila kept drawing. Her final sketch showed a girl with a lantern, uncovering roots beneath a shining castle. James stood by his window, the Charlotte skyline glowing. The fight was over, and truth had won, not with fanfare, but with a child's courage. Lila Thompson, 9 years old, had changed everything. What do you think about Lila's story? Have you ever faced a moment where speaking the truth felt impossible? Share your thoughts in the comments below, especially on how we confront greed and injustice in our lives. Take a stand, and let's hear your perspective.